It's our stories. Welcome to a world where real stories sounds like a movie script.
Have you ever wondered what your significant other is doing while you sleep in an empty hotel room 1,000 miles away? I thought my wife was sleeping, but a notification on my phone at 3:14 a.m. showed her heart rate spiking like she was running a marathon, even though she was lying in her bed. The technology meant to care for her health exposed the dirtiest lie of my life. Listen to how I used this data to turn her life into a living hell without saying a word. They say ignorance is bliss. I used to believe that. I used to think that trust was the foundation of everything, the bedrock upon which you build a life, a home, a future. But I was wrong. Ignorance isn't bliss. It's just a blindfold you tie around your own eyes so you don't see the knife coming. And trust? Trust is just a vulnerability waiting to be exploited. My name is Alex. I'm 34 years old, a data analyst for a logistics firm, and until 48 hours ago, I was the happiest man alive. I had everything: a career that paid well, a house in the suburbs with a manicured lawn, and Lisa. Even saying her name now leaves a taste of ash in my mouth. She was my world. We had been married for 5 years, together for 7. She was beautiful, kind, the sort of woman who remembered everyone's birthday and volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends. She was perfect, or at least the version of her she let me see was perfect. Because of my job, I travel a lot. Road warrior, they call it. I spend about 10 days a month in hotels, staring at beige walls, eating room service, and missing my wife. To stay connected, we use technology. We FaceTimed every night. We share our locations. And recently, for her birthday, I bought her the latest high-end smartwatch. She loved it. She was getting into fitness, talking about wanting to tone up, maybe run a half marathon. I was supportive. I set it up for her, syncing it to our shared family cloud account so we could motivate each other. In reality, I just like seeing her hit her goals. It made me feel connected to her when I was hundreds of miles away. I didn't know I was handing her the device that would end our marriage. It was Tuesday. I was in Chicago for a conference. The hotel was upscale but lonely. We had set our good nights via video call at 10 p.m. She was in her pajamas, the silk ones I bought her for our anniversary. She looked tired. "I'm going to crash early, babe," she had said, yawning convincingly. "Work was brutal today. I love you." "Love you too," I replied. "Sleep tight." I watched her blow a kiss to the camera before the screen went black. I smiled at my reflection in the darkened phone screen, feeling that warm, fuzzy sensation of being loved. I went to bed around midnight, exhausted from a day of meetings. I woke up at 3:14 a.m. You know that feeling when you wake up suddenly, with no grogginess, just instant alertness? It was like an alarm had gone off in my brain. My phone was vibrating on the nightstand. Not a call, not a text, a haptic pattern I didn't recognize immediately. I rolled over, rubbing my eyes, and grabbed the phone. The screen was blindingly bright in the pitch-black room. I squinted, trying to focus on the notification banner. Health alert, Lisa's Apple Watch. High heart rate detected. Heart rate has risen above 120 BPM while inactive for 10 minutes. My stomach dropped. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced my chest. My first thought wasn't suspicion. It was fear. Pure, unadulterated terror. Is she having a heart attack? Is it a panic attack? Did someone break in? I sat up, fumbling with the passcode. I opened the health app. My hands were shaking. I tapped on her profile. The data loaded, syncing over the cloud in real time. Current heart rate, 168 BPM. 1. That's not a panic attack. That's a sprint. That's the kind of heart rate you have when you're pushing your body to its absolute limit. I tried to call her. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. "Come on, Lisa. Pick up." I whispered into the empty hotel room. My own heart was hammering against my ribs, mirroring the numbers on the screen. I looked at the graph. The spike had started at 2:45 a.m. It started gradually, 90, 100, 110, and then skyrocketed to 150 to 170, sustaining that level for the last 20 minutes. I checked her GPS location. Status, home. Last updated, now. She was at home at 3 a.m. with a heart rate of sprinter. I sat there, frozen. The fear for her safety began to mutate into something else. Something darker. Something nauseating. If she was being attacked, the heart rate would be erratic. It would be fight or flight. But this, looking at the graph, there was a rhythm to it. Peaks and valleys. Intervals. Intense bursts followed by short recoveries, then intense bursts again. It looked exactly like the interval training logs from my own gym sessions. Or exactly like sex. Rough, intense, prolonged sex. The realization hit me like a physical blow to the gut. I actually gagged, bending over the side of the bed, dry heaving. No, not Lisa. Not my Lisa. I try to rationalize it. Maybe the sensor is broken. Maybe she's having a nightmare. Maybe she decided to do a HIIT workout in the living room at 3 a.m. because she couldn't sleep. I stared at the screen, desperate for an alternative explanation. Then, the noise app data synced. The watch measures environmental sound levels to protect hearing. I clicked on the timestamp for 3:05 a.m. Decibel level, 85 dB. Classification, loud, 85 decibels. That's not silence. That's not sleep. That's the volume of a shout, or a scream, or loud music. And then I saw the calories burned metric update. Active energy, 340 calories. She wasn't sleeping. She wasn't watching TV. She was physically exerting herself to the point of exhaustion in our bedroom while I was 800 miles away. I stopped calling. I put the phone down on the pristine white sheets. I felt cold, not just chilly, but freezing, as if all the blood had been drained from my body. I stared at the numbers as they continued to update. 165 BPM, 170 BPM, 155 BPM. I was watching my wife cheat on me in real time, translated into data points and colorful graphs. I was virtually present in the room, holding the candle, watching the sweat drip, hearing the gasps, but through the cold, unfeeling lens of technology. I imagined the watch on her wrist, the rose gold band I carefully selected. I imagined her arm draped over someone's shoulder, the sensor flashing its green light against her skin, recording every thrust, every moment of betrayal. Who was it? The question burned in my brain. I looked at the time. 3:30 a.m. The heart rate began to drop. 140, 120, 100. It was over. I felt a tear slide down my cheek, hot and stinging. I wiped it away angrily. I wasn't going to cry. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I needed more than just numbers. I needed proof that would stand up in court. Proof that would destroy her the way she just destroyed me. I opened the sleep tab on the app. I started scrolling back. Past night. Normal. 2 nights ago. Normal. Last Tuesday. I stopped. Last Tuesday, I was in New York. Last Tuesday, 2:30 a.m. Heart rate spike. Max 175 bpm. Duration, 55 minutes. I scroll back further. 2 weeks ago, Tuesday, I was late at the office. Heart rate spike. Max 160 bpm. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a pattern. Every Tuesday, like clockwork, she had a schedule. She had a routine for her betrayal. I lay back on the pillows, staring at the ceiling. The ceiling fan spun slowly, mocking me. I felt like a fool. A pathetic, trusting fool. While I was out here working to pay for our house, for our vacations, for that damn watch, she was hosting a weekly marathon in our bed. The shock began to fade, replaced by a cold, hard rage. It started in my stomach and spread to my fingertips. It was a clarity I had never felt before. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. If I called her now, screaming and accusing, she would deny it. She would say the watch malfunctioned. She would say she was exercising. She would gaslight me. And without concrete visual proof, she might even make me believe it. She was smart. She was manipulative. I saw that now. No, I needed to be smarter. I picked up my phone again. The heart rate was back down to resting levels. 65 BPM. She was probably falling asleep in his arms. Or maybe he was leaving. I opened my airline app. My flight was scheduled for Thursday. I canceled it. I booked a new ticket. One way. For tomorrow morning. But I wasn't going to go home. I was going to go into the shadows. I opened the Amazon app. My search history was full of gifts for her. Perfume, books, the watch. I typed in a new search query. Idin camera. Motion activated. Wi-Fi enabled. Tiny. I bought 3. Overnight shipping to an Amazon locker near our house, not to the front door. I sat on the edge of the bed as the sun began to rise over the Chicago skyline. The beautiful pink and orange hues looked disgusting to me. The world looked different. It looked sharper, uglier. My phone buzzed again. A text from Lisa. 3:45 a.m. Can't sleep, bad dream. Miss you. Hope you're resting well. Love you. I stared at the message. The audacity, the absolute cruelty of it. She was texting me while the sweat was probably still drying on her skin. She was checking in to make sure I was still asleep, still the oblivious idiot husband. I didn't reply. I couldn't. If I typed a single word, I would vomit. Instead, I took a screenshot of her heart rate graph from 3:15 a.m. And then I took a screenshot of her text. I saved them both in a hidden folder on my phone titled Evidence. I love you too, Lisa. I whispered to the empty room, my voice dripping with venom. I love you so much. I'm going to make you famous. The game had changed. She thought she was playing me, but she didn't realize that she had just given me the controller. The flight back to Seattle was a blur of turbulence and nausea. I sat in seat 14A, staring out at the clouds, feeling like I was flying into a war zone. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. Was it her? Was it the watch detecting another workout? I had told Lisa my conference ended early, but I lied about the flight time. I told her I'd land at 8 p.m. In reality, my wheels touched down at 10 a.m. I needed those 10 hours. I needed to prep the battlefield. I rented a generic sedan instead of taking an Uber. I didn't want my location sharing to alert her that I was moving faster than expected. I drove to the Amazon locker, picked up the package containing 3 high-definition, motion-activated spy cameras, and drove to a coffee shop 2 blocks from our house. I waited. At 8:30 a.m., Lisa's car backed out of the driveway. She was heading to her job at the dental clinic. I watched her go. She looked normal. She was wearing her blue scrubs, her hair tied back in a messy bun. She was drinking from her travel mug. It was terrifying how normal she looked. A woman who just 5 hours ago was screaming in the arms of another man was now just commuting. Once she was gone, I entered the house. It smelled like vanilla and citrus. Our home, the sanctuary I worked 60 hours a week to pay for. Now it felt like a crime scene. I walked into the bedroom. The bed was made, perfectly made, not a wrinkle. That was new. Lisa usually left the bed messy if she was running late. But today, military precision. To hide the evidence, perhaps. I stood by the bed and inhaled deeply. I expected to smell sex, musk cologne, but all I smelled was an overwhelming amount of Febreze. She had sanitized the scene. I got to work. My hands, which had been shaking since 3 a.m., were suddenly steady. Purpose does that to you. I installed the first camera on the top shelf of the bookshelf, hidden inside the spine of a hollowed-out encyclopedia we never opened. It had a perfect view of the bed. The second camera went into the living room, concealed behind the mesh of a decorative speaker. The third one, I put that one in the hallway facing the front door. I needed to see who was coming in. I needed a face. I synced them all to a burner phone I had bought at the airport. I wasn't going to risk her seeing a notification on my main device. By 2 p.m., I was done. I sat on the couch, the very couch where we used to watch movies and eat popcorn, and I waited. I checked the health app again. Resting heart rate, 62 BPM. She was calm. She was at work. She had no idea that the walls now had eyes. When 8 p.m. rolled around, I pulled into the driveway with my rental, pretending I had just arrived from the airport. I walked in, dragging my suitcase, putting on the performance of a lifetime. Alex. She came running from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She looked beautiful. That was the cruelest joke of all. Evil should look ugly. It should have horns and scales. It shouldn't have soft brown eyes and a smile that makes your knees weak. She threw her arms around my neck. I missed you so much. I'm so glad you're home early-ish. I had to hug her back. I had to. If I flinched, she would know. I wrapped my arms around her waist. Her body felt familiar, yet foreign. It was like holding a stranger. I missed you too, I lied. The words tasted like bile. She pulled back and leaned in to kiss me. This was the test. I closed my eyes. Her lips touched mine. Soft, warm, and all I could think about was, where were these lips last night? I pulled away gently, feigning a cough. Sorry, babe. Plain air. I feel gross. I need a shower before I get too close. She pouted playfully. Okay, go shower. I made lasagna. Lasagna. My favorite. The meal she made when she wanted to be extra sweet, or when she felt guilty. Dinner was torture. I sat across from her, picking at the food. How was the trip? She asked, pouring me a glass of wine. Boring, I said. Just meetings. How was your week? Anything exciting happen? I watched her closely. I looked for a twitch, a stutter, a shift in her gaze. Oh, she said, taking a sip of wine. Same old, same old. Work was crazy. I went to the gym a couple of times. Just trying to stay busy while you were gone. The gym. That's great, I said, forcing a smile. I saw your activity rings on the shared cloud. You crushed it on Tuesday night. Late workout. Ideally, this was a trap. I wanted to see if she would lie or deflect. She didn't even blink. Yeah, I couldn't sleep, so I did that insanity workout in the living room. It kicked my ass. My heart rate was through the roof. She was good. She was terrifyingly good. She looked me dead in the eye and lied with a smile. She had the alibi ready. She knew I could see the data, so she built her lie around it. Proud of you, I said. Under the table, my fist was clenched so hard my fingernails were digging into my palm. Later that night, we went to bed. The bed. I lay on my side, as close to the edge as possible. She snuggled up behind me, draping her arm over my chest. The same arm that wore the watch. I could feel the cold metal of the device against my skin. I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the bookshelf, knowing that the tiny black lens inside the encyclopedia was recording us right now. I started to think, to analyze. She said she did the workout in the living room, but the noise app data from the watch showed rhythmic sounds that matched the bedroom acoustics, not the living room with its echoey hardwood floors. Plus, the watch's accelerometer data showed horizontal movement, like lying down, interspersed with rapid motion. You don't do HIIT workouts lying on a mattress. And then there was the Tuesday pattern. Every Tuesday. Who is free every Tuesday night? Who knows my travel schedule? Who is comfortable enough to come into my house, sleep in my bed, and leave before dawn? It wasn't a random hookup from a bar. Random hookups are messy. They happen on Fridays. They happen when you're drunk. This was scheduled. This was domestic. The next morning, Wednesday, I stayed home. Jet lag. I told her. She went to work. As soon as she left, I opened the footage from the hallway camera I installed yesterday. I wanted to check the angles, but then I decided to check something else. I walked to the garage. I looked at her car. If she was meeting someone elsewhere on other days, the GPS would show it. But the watch said she was home. So he comes here. How does he get in? I checked the spare key hidden under the rock in the garden. It was there. I checked the smart lock logs on the front door. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Door unlocked. User, Lisa. Wednesday, 3:30 a.m. Door unlocked. User, manual thumb turn. He didn't have a code. She let him in, and he let himself out. I went back inside and sat at my computer. I needed to narrow down the suspect list. I opened Facebook. I looked at her friends list. I looked at my friends list. Who did I trust? My neighbor, Steve? No, he's 70. My best friend, Mark? He lives in Portland. Her boss? Maybe. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my sister, Sarah. Hey, are you back in town? Dave and I are having a barbecue this Saturday. You guys should come. Dave, my brother-in-law, a great guy, a real estate agent, flexible hours. We played poker together. He helped me fix my deck last summer. I froze. Last summer, Dave was here helping me fix the deck. Lisa was bringing us lemonade. I remember a look. A glance passed between them. I dismissed it at the time as friendly. I typed back to Sarah. Hey, Sarah. Yeah, we'd love to. How's Dave doing? Busy with the market. Her reply came instantly. Ugh, yes. He's been swamped. He has these late-night open houses every Tuesday lately. It's annoying, but the commission is good. Every Tuesday. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the desk with a clatter. The room started to spin. Dave, my sister's husband, the father of my 2 nieces. It fit. He knew my schedule because Sarah knew my schedule. He worked late on Tuesdays. He was family. He could park his car down the street and walk over without neighbors getting suspicious. Just borrowing a tool from Alex, he could say if caught. I felt a wave of nausea so strong I had to run to the bathroom. I retched into the sink. It wasn't just betrayal. It was incestuous, dirty, nuclear destruction of 2 families. If I was right, this wasn't just about divorcing Lisa. This was about destroying my sister's life too. I washed my face with cold water. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot. I looked like a ghost. Okay, I said to my reflection. Okay, I needed to be 100% sure. I needed to see his face. And next Tuesday was 5 days away. I couldn't wait 5 days. I would go insane. I needed to trigger them. I needed to force a meeting. I walked back to my phone. I composed a text to Lisa. Babe, bad news. Boss just called. Crisis in the Denver branch. I have to fly out again tonight. Gone until Friday. I'm so sorry. I hit send. Then I texted Sarah. Actually, we can't make the barbecue. I have to leave for Denver tonight. Rain check. I was setting the trap. If my theory was right, Lisa would tell Dave I was gone. And Dave, the hardworking realtor, would suddenly have another open house tonight. I went upstairs and packed a bag. I made a show of being frustrated, throwing clothes in the suitcase. Lisa texted back. Oh no, that sucks baby, sad face. I'll miss you. Hurry back. Yeah, I bet you will. I left the house at 5 p.m. I drove to the airport, parked in long-term parking, and then I took an Uber right back to my neighborhood. I had the driver drop me off 3 streets away. I hiked through the wooded area behind our subdivision. It was getting dark. I felt like a stalker, a criminal in my own life. I reached the back of my property. I had a clear view of the back patio door. I crouched behind a shed, pulled out my burner phone, and opened the camera app. The feeds were live. The living room was empty. The bedroom was empty. I waited. 6:30 p.m. Lisa came home. She ordered Thai food. 7:30 p.m. She took a shower. I watched the hallway camera as she walked from the bathroom to the bedroom in a towel. 8 p.m. She checked her phone. She smiled. A wicked, excited smile. She went to her closet. She didn't put on pajamas. She put on black lace lingerie. The set I bought her for Valentine's Day. The set she told me was too uncomfortable to wear for me. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought the noise app on my watch would trigger an alert. 8:15 p.m. A car pulled up out front. I couldn't see it from the backyard, but the hallway camera caught the headlights through the window. The doorbell didn't ring. The door opened. She had unlocked it for him. A man walked in. He was wearing a baseball cap and a hoodie, keeping his head down. Lisa ran to him in the hallway. She jumped into his arms, wrapping her legs around his waist. He dropped his bag and grabbed her, slamming her against the wall. He kissed her aggressively. He pulled back his hood. The camera in the hallway is 4K resolution. It captured every pore. It wasn't Dave. I squinted at the screen, confusion mixing with the adrenaline. It wasn't my brother-in-law. It was a man I had never seen before in my life. Younger, maybe 25. Fit, tattoos on his neck. Who the hell is this? And then, as they stumbled toward the bedroom, giggling and tearing at each other's clothes, the man turned to lock the front door behind him. He looked right at the mirror in the hallway. And then he looked at the smoke detector. No, he stopped. He pushed Lisa away gently. Babe, hold on. I heard him say through the camera's microphone. He walked toward the hallway table. He picked up the encyclopedia, the one I had placed on the bookshelf in the bedroom. No, wait. I placed one in the hallway too. No, he was looking at the living room speaker. He walked right up to the camera I had hidden in the mesh. His face filled the screen on my phone. Lisa, he said, his voice calm, terrifyingly calm. Why is there a new red light blinking inside your speaker? My blood froze. I had bought the cheap cameras, the ones with the status LED that I forgot to tape over. He knew, and I was unarmed, crouching behind a shed, while a stranger was inside my house with my wife, discovering my trap. The screen on my burner phone went black. 1 second, I was looking at the intruder's face, a face full of arrogant curiosity, and the next, static. He had ripped the camera out. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. I was crouching in the dirt behind my own garden shed, holding a dead phone, while a stranger was inside my house with my wife. He knew I was watching, and he didn't look scared. I had two choices. Option A, call the police. Tell them there's an intruder. Wait 10 minutes for them to arrive. By then, he could be gone, or worse, he could hurt Lisa. Option B, go in. I didn't think. Instinct took over. It wasn't bravery, it was territorial rage. This was my house, my wife, my life he was laughing at. I looked around for a weapon. I grabbed a heavy, rusted spade from the side of the shed. It felt cold and solid in my hands. I moved toward the back patio door. I crept up to the glass sliding door. The curtains were drawn, but I could hear voices. They weren't whispering anymore. I told you he was weird, the man's voice boomed. It was deep, rough. Who puts a camera in a speaker, Lisa? Your husband is a freak. I didn't know. Lisa's voice was high-pitched, frantic. Jax, please, we have to go. If he's watching, he's probably calling the cops right now. Jax. His name was Jax. Let him call. Jax laughed. It was a chilling sound. I'm not scared of some IT nerd. Where is he? Is he in Denver? He said he was flying out. Well, he's not flying, is he? He's watching. I heard the sound of furniture being overturned. A crash. Jax, stop. What are you doing? Lisa screamed. Looking for the other ones, he snarled. If there's one, there's more. I'm not going back to prison because your husband has a voyeur fetish. Prison. The word hung in the air. This wasn't just a gym trainer. This was a convict. I couldn't wait any longer. I gripped the spade. I had the spare key in my pocket, but fumbling with the lock would take too long. I looked at the glass door. I swung the spade with everything I had. Crash. The safety glass shattered into a million diamonds, raining down onto the hardwood floor. The sound was deafening. I stepped through the broken frame, crunching glass under my boots, raising the spade like a baseball bat. Get away from her! I roared. The scene in the living room was chaotic. The sofa cushions were thrown everywhere. The decorative speaker was smashed on the floor. Lisa was standing near the kitchen island, clutching her robe, her face pale as a sheet. Jax was standing in the middle of the room. He didn't flinch. He didn't run. He turned slowly to face me. He was shirtless, revealing a torso covered in tattoos, prison ink, spiderwebs on his elbows, a teardrop under his eye, Gothic script across his chest. He was ripped, pure muscle and sinew. He looked at me, then he looked at the rusted shovel in my hands. He smiled, a wide, predator's smile showing gold-capped teeth. Well, Jack said, spreading his arms wide. The husband returns. Nice entrance, hero. You gonna do some gardening? Get out. I shouted, my voice shaking despite my best efforts. I called the police. They're on their way. You're lying, Jack said calmly. He took a step toward me. I saw your eyes in the camera, Alex. You looked scared. You didn't call anyone. You wanted to see this yourself. He was right, and it was terrifying that he could read me so easily. Alex, please. Lisa cried out. Just put the shovel down. Don't make him angry. I looked at her, stunned. Don't make him angry? Lisa, he's in our house. He's destroying our things. Lisa stammered, tears streaming down her face. He's got a temper, Alex. Please, just let him leave. I'm not leaving yet, Jack said. He cracked his neck. Not until I make sure you don't have any recordings on that phone of yours. He pointed at the burner phone sticking out of my pocket. Give me the phone, Alex. No, I said, stepping back. Jack sighed. Have it your way. He moved fast, impossibly fast. I swung the shovel, aiming for his head. It was a clumsy, desperate swing. Jack ducked effortlessly. He stepped inside my guard and punched me in the stomach. It felt like being hit by a sledgehammer. The air left my lungs instantly. I dropped the shovel, doubling over, gasping for breath. Before I could recover, his knee connected with my nose. Crunch. Blood exploded across my face. Blinded by pain and tears, I fell backward, crashing onto the coffee table. I lay there, groaning, tasting copper and dust. My vision was swimming. I felt a heavy boot press down on my chest, pinning me to the floor. Jack stood over me, looking down like I was a bug. He reached into my pocket and took the burner phone. See, he said, tossing the phone onto the floor and stomping on it. Crunch. That wasn't so hard. He looked over at Lisa. Babe, check his pockets. See if he has his main phone. I looked at Lisa, my wife, the woman I vowed to protect. Lisa, run. I wheezed, blood bubbling from my nose. Call 911. Lisa didn't run. She looked at Jax, terrified, and she looked at me. I'm sorry, Alex, she sobbed. She walked over to me. She knelt down. Her hands were trembling. She reached into my jeans pocket and pulled out my iPhone. She didn't use it to call for help. She handed it to Jax. That hurt more than the broken nose. That was the moment my soul died. She chose him. Out of fear, maybe, but she obeyed him. She disarmed me to protect him. Jax took the phone. What's the passcode, Alex? I spit blood onto the carpet. Go to hell. Jax shrugged. He grabbed my broken finger. I didn't even realize I had broken it in the fall, and twisted. I screamed. A guttural, animal sound. The passcode. Lisa screamed. Just tell him. It's 1-9-8-9. It's my birth year. Jax laughed. Predictable. He unlocked the phone. He went to the Photos app. He found the evidence folder. Deleted, he said. Deleted from recently deleted. Gone. He opened the cloud app. Family sharing disabled. Account signed out. He dropped the phone on my chest. Now, Jack said, stepping off me. Here is how this is going to go. Lisa and I are going to leave. We're going to take your car because mine is a piece of junk. You're not going to call the cops. You know why? I glared at him through swollen eyes. Because Jax leaned down, whispering in my ear. I know where your sister Sarah lives. Lisa told me all about her. Cute kids. Would be a shame if Uncle Jax paid them a visit. My blood ran cold. He knew about Sarah. Lisa had told him. You touch them, and I'll kill you, I whispered. You couldn't even hit me with a shovel, man, Jack scoffed. Don't make promises you can't keep. He stood up and grabbed Lisa's arm. Let's go. Grab your jewelry box. We need cash. Cox. No, Lisa pleaded. We can't steal from him. We aren't stealing, Jack said, pulling her toward the bedroom. Ideally, this is a divorce settlement. Early withdrawal. I lay on the floor, unable to move, listening to them ransack our bedroom. I heard drawers opening. I heard the jewelry box being emptied. Her grandmother's ring, the diamond necklace I bought her. 10 minutes later, they walked back out. Lisa was crying, carrying a bag. Jax was wearing my leather jacket. Bye, Alex, Jack said. Thanks for the hospitality. Don't follow us. Lisa paused at the broken door. She looked back at me one last time. I never wanted this, she whispered. I met him at the gym. He sold me Adderall. Pain is a clarifying agent. As I sat in the glow of my computer monitors, nursing a glass of whiskey with a trembling hand. The throbbing in my broken nose wasn't a distraction. It was a metronome. Thump, 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 keeping time for the destruction I was about to unleash. I'd set my own nose in the bathroom mirror. I used a wooden spoon to bite down on and my own 2 hands to snap the cartilage back into place. I screamed silently, tears streaming down my face, but I didn't pass out. I needed that pain. I needed to remember exactly what he did to me. Now it was 4 a.m. The house was quiet, save for the hum of my server tower. I had Lisa's watch, and because Lisa was lazy with passwords, I had her entire digital life. First, I needed a name. Jax wasn't enough. I accessed Lisa's iCloud backups. Jax had destroyed my phone and hers, but he forgot that iCloud backs up text messages nightly. The last backup was at 2 a.m. yesterday. I combed through her archived messages. It didn't take long. Buried in a deleted messages folder, which, ironically, isn't permanently deleted until 30 days later, I found a thread with an unsaved number. Can you bring extra Addy tonight? Stressful week. Got you, babe. $20 per pill. Cash only. Jax, I don't have cash. Can I Venmo you? Fine. But put it under pizza emoji. My handle is at Jackson_88. Gotcha. I pulled up Venmo. I searched the handle. Jackson Miller. Profile picture. A gym selfie showing those same spiderweb tattoos on the elbows. I opened a new tab. I paid $19.99 for a comprehensive background check on a sketchy data broker site. The report generated in 30 seconds. Jackson Jax Miller. Age, 29. Criminal record, aggravated assault, possession with intent to distribute, grand theft auto. Current status, paroled 3 months ago. I smiled. My lips split open again, tasting of iron, but I didn't care. He was on parole. Condition of parole, no association with known felons. No drug use. No leaving the county. And definitely no beating up husbands and stealing their cars. If I called 911 right now, he would go back to prison for 5 years. But that wasn't enough. 5 years? He ruined my marriage. He violated my home. He threatened my sister. No, I wanted him buried. I wanted him to serve life. And I wanted Lisa to watch it happen, realizing she was the one who drove the getaway car. I needed to know where they were. They took my car, a 2023 Audi Q8. Jax thought he was smart. He probably threw my fast-track transponder out the window. He probably thought disabling the GPS in the navigation menu was enough. But he didn't know about the manufacturer's telemetry. I logged into the My Audi portal. Vehicle status, engine running. Speed, 75 miles per hour. Location, I-5 South, passing Tacoma. They were running, leaving the county. That was parole violation number 1. Leaving the state, that would be federal. I watched the little dot moving on the map. They were heading towards Portland. Probably gonna lay low, maybe sell the car for parts. I could shut off the engine right now. The stolen vehicle recovery feature allowed me to remotely immobilize the car the next time it came to a complete stop. But not yet. I wanted them to feel safe. I wanted them to get comfortable. Instead, I opened a new tab. Bank of America. Joint account. Lisa's debit card was linked to this account. I watched the pending transactions. Shell gas station, Tacoma, $45. 7-Eleven, $18.50. They were using my money to fuel their escape. I clicked on Lisa's card. Status, report lost/stolen. Action, freeze immediately. I did the same for her credit cards. Every single one. I left my own cards active, but moved all the fund from our joint savings, $60,000 intended for a down payment on a vacation home, into a private crypto wallet that only I had the keys to. In 3 minutes, Lisa was penniless. Then, I decided to send a message. Not a text. Jax had my phone, and he had likely turned it off or ditched it. I sent a message to the car. Modern cars have a feature where you can send a destination to the navigation system from your phone. You can also attach a note. I typed in the address of the nearest police station to their current location. And for the note, I typed, "Eyes on the road, Jax. I'm watching." I hit send. I imagine the scene. Jax is driving, one hand on the wheel, the other probably on Lisa's leg. He's feeling like a king. He just beat down the nerd husband, got the girl, got the cash, got the car. Suddenly, the dashboard screen lights up. A chime sounds through the speakers, interrupting their music. The navigation map overrides everything. It creates a route, destination, Oregon State Police Headquarters. And then the message pops up on the center console, bright and high contrast. "Eyes on the road, Jax. I'm watching." I watched the telemetry on my screen. Speed, 75 miles per hour dash, 55 miles per hour dash, 40 miles per hour. Brake application, hard. He panicked. He knows the car is haunted. I saw the car pull over to the shoulder. Status, engine idling. I leaned into my microphone. I had one more trick. I activated the valet alert feature. It's meant to notify you if a valet drives your car outside a set radius. But it also has a vehicle finder function that honks the horn and flashes the lights to help you find it in a parking lot. I clicked the button. Honk, honk, flash. I clicked it again. Honk, honk, flash. I was playing with them. Miles away, bleeding in my dark office. I was making a hardened criminal jump out of his skin on the side of a highway. They started moving again. Fast. Speed, 95 miles per hour. He was scared. He was driving erratically. Good. That attracts attention. Now for the masterstroke. I needed to turn this into a felony stop. I needed the police to treat them not just as car thieves, but as armed and dangerous traffickers. I went back to the dark web forum. I didn't hire a hitman. I didn't buy drugs. I bought a tip. There are services where you can anonymously report crimes to federal agencies using spoof credentials that make the tip look like it came from a reliable informant. I composed the tip to the Oregon State Police and the DEA. Suspect vehicle, black Audi Q8. License plate, redacted. Occupants, Jackson Miller, parolee, armed, and Lisa. Cargo, suspect is transporting a large shipment of fentanyl and stolen firearms. Notes, suspect has stated intent to shoot it out with law enforcement. It was a lie. Mostly. Jax was armed with my shovel, maybe, and dangerous. But the drugs? I didn't know for sure. But here's the thing about police in America. If you tell them a suspect is armed and transporting fentanyl, they don't send one patrol car to ask for a license. They send the SWAT team. They send the dogs. They bring the helicopter. I hit submit. I checked the map. They were 20 miles from the Oregon border. There's a rest stop just before the state line. I knew Lisa. She has a small bladder. When she's nervous, she needs to pee. And Jax, running on adrenaline and paranoia, we need to stop to figure out how to disable the car's tracker. I watched it. Sure enough, they took the exit. Rest area 41. The car stopped. Engine off. Perfect. I waited 2 minutes. Enough time for them to get out and walk toward the bathrooms. I clicked the stolen vehicle recovery button on my dashboard. Immobilization command sent. Vehicle starter disabled. Doors deadlocked. The car was now a brick. A 5,000-pound paperweight. Even if they had the key, the engine wouldn't turn over. And because I deadlocked the doors, they couldn't even get back inside to retrieve their bags or the jewelry they stole. They were stranded at a rest stop at 5 a.m. With no money, cards declined. With no car, immobilized. And with every cop in the state looking for a fentanyl trafficker driving that specific vehicle. I switched tabs to the Oregon Department of Transportation traffic cameras. I found a camera for rest area 41. It was grainy black and white, but I saw it. My Audi parked under a light. I saw 2 figures walking back to it. I saw Jax pulling the handle. Nothing. I saw him kicking the tire. I saw Lisa crying, her hands on her head. Then I saw the flashing lights. Blue and red. Silent on the screen, but blindingly bright. 1 cruiser. 2 cruisers. An SUV. They swarmed the parking lot. I saw Jax reach for his waistband. Bad move, Jax. I saw him tackled to the concrete by 3 officers. I saw Lisa thrown against the hood of my car, handcuffed. I took a sip of whiskey. The burning sensation was pleasant this time, but I wasn't done. But I needed to make sure that even from behind bars, Jax couldn't hurt me. And I needed to make sure Lisa had absolutely nowhere to go when she eventually got out. I picked up the phone, my landline, the old dusty one in the kitchen. I dialed my sister, Sarah. Hello. She answered, voice groggy. It was 5:15 a.m. Sarah, I said, my voice breaking. I let the tears come back. I needed to sound broken. Sarah, you need to lock your doors. Right now. Alex, what's wrong? Where are you? Lisa. I sobbed. Lisa and her drug dealer boyfriend. They beat me up. They robbed the house. And Sarah, he said he knows where you live. He threatened the kids. Oh my God, Sarah gasped. I heard Dave in the background waking up. The police have them. I lied, technically true now. But Sarah, you need to know, Lisa was part of it. She gave him the codes. She told him about your schedule. She betrayed us all. I was salting the earth. Lisa wouldn't just lose her husband. She would lose her family. She would lose her friends. She would be a pariah. I hung up the phone. I looked at the grainy footage on my screen. They were dragging Jax into the back of a squad car. Lisa was sitting on the curb, head between her knees, handcuffed. I zoomed in on the image. Smile. Honey, I whispered. You're finally getting that heart rate up. But as I watched them haul my car away on a flatbed truck, a notification popped up on my computer. It was an email to my work address, sent from my stolen phone. My blood froze. Jax had been caught, but the phone wasn't on him in the video. I squinted at the footage. He didn't have the phone. The email subject line was checkmate. I opened it. It wasn't from Jax. It was a video file attached. I clicked play. The camera was shaky. It showed the inside of my car before they reached the rest stop. Jax was driving, but he wasn't holding the phone. Lisa was holding it. She was recording herself. Alex, Lisa said into the camera. Her eyes were wild dilated. She looked high. You think you're so smart with your tracking and your little messages. Eyes on the road. Goo. She laughed, a manic broken sound. Jax told me to throw the phone out the window, but I didn't. Because I know you, Alex. I know you're tracking us. And I know you're going to call the cops. She leaned closer to the lens. So I did something. While Jax was in the gas station, I uploaded something to your work server. Using your credentials on this phone. Remember the encrypted folder you keep your client data in? The sensitive logistics for the military contracts. My stomach dropped. I just leaked it, she smiled. To the dark web. To everyone. Publicly. She sat back. If I go down, Alex, you go down too. Espionage Act. Groß Negligence. You'll lose your clearance. You'll lose your job. You might even join us in prison. The video ended. I stared at the screen. The police lights on the other monitor were still flashing. I had won the battle, but she had just nuked the war. I stared at the video of my wife threatening to destroy my life. The file had finished playing, leaving a frozen image of her manic, dilated eyes on my screen. She had leaked the military logistics folder. She had committed treason to save her own skin. For 10 seconds, I couldn't breathe. I visualized the FBI kicking down my door. I saw myself in an orange jumpsuit next to Jax. But then, the analyst part of my brain kicked in. The part that deals with logic, not fear. I closed the video player. I opened my server logs. I navigated to the folder she had accessed. /client_data, /restricted, /Dodi_logistics. I checked the file attributes. Created 3 years ago. Last modified. Never. Size 1.2 gigabytes. A slow, cold smile spread across my swollen face. Lisa lived with a data analyst, but she never asked what I actually did. She knew I worked with security. She knew I was paranoid, but she didn't know about the canary trap. In cybersecurity, a canary token is a trap. It's a file, a document, a folder, a database that looks incredibly valuable, but is actually fake. It sits there, waiting for an intruder to touch it. And when they do, it doesn't just alert you. It tags them. The folder Lisa stole didn't contain military secrets. It contained 1.2 gigabytes of useless, procedurally generated junk data that looked like encrypted code. But it also contained a tracker. And, more importantly, by uploading it to the dark web, she hadn't exposed state secrets. She had exposed herself as a cyber terrorist. She thought she was pulling the pin on a grenade to kill us both. In reality, she had just swallowed the grenade. I picked up my landline. FBI field office, please, I said. I'd like to report a cyber attack involving a stolen device and a hostage situation. 3 days later, the interrogation room was cold. It smelled of stale coffee and industrial cleaner. I sat on the metal chair, my broken nose splinted and taped. My left, I still a kaleidoscope of purple and black. My lawyer sat next to me. He looked bored. He knew we were winning. The door opened. 2 federal agents walked in, escorting Lisa. She looked ruined. She was wearing a gray prison jumpsuit. Her hair, usually so perfect, was greasy and matted. Her face was gaunt, dark circles under her eyes, so deep they looked like bruises. She was shaking, withdrawal from the Adderall, combined with the crushing weight of reality. They handcuffed her to the table across from me. She looked at my battered face. For a second, I saw a flicker of the woman I married. Alex, she croaked. Her voice was a wreck. Mrs. Miller, the lead agent said sharply. You requested this meeting. Mr. Reynolds agreed only to hear your statement regarding the whereabouts of the stolen hard drives. Lisa ignored him. She leaned forward, rattling her chains. Alex, you have to help me, she whispered. Jax made me do it. You saw the video. I was high. I was scared. He threatened to kill me. I didn't say anything. I just watched her. And the data, she continued, her eyes darting around. I can retract it. I can tell them I stole your password. If you drop the charges for the car, maybe they'll go easy on the cyber stuff. We can fix this. Please, Alex. I'm your wife. I leaned forward. The metal table was cold under my elbows. "Lisa," I said softly, "you are being charged with stealing the car." She blinked. "What? The car is the least of your problems. Jax is going down for kidnapping, assault, and grand theft auto. He's a habitual offender. He's never seeing the sun again. But what about me?" "You," I said, pointing to the file on the table. "You are being charged with federal computer fraud, identity theft, and attempted distribution of counterfeit classified material." "Counterfeit?" She froze. "The data you leaked," I explained, speaking slowly as if to a child. "It was a honeypot, Lisa. It was fake. There were no military secrets. Just junk code designed to catch hackers." Her mouth fell open. The blood drained from her face. "So, I didn't commit treason?" she asked, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "No, Ismilat, but you tried to, and in doing so, you admitted on video to accessing a protected server with malicious intent. You tried to frame a government contractor. You tried to destroy national security infrastructure. The feds don't like that. They don't care that the data was fake. They care that you pulled the trigger." She slumped back in her chair. The fight went out of her. "Why?" she whispered, tears streaming down her dirty cheeks. "Why did you have a trap on your own computer?" "Because of people like you," I said. "Trust is a vulnerability, remember?" She started to sob. "I loved you, Alex. In my own way. I got lost. Jax, he made me feel alive." "Alive," I repeated. I reached into my pocket. The agents tensed, but I pulled out a piece of paper. It was a printout of her heart rate graph. "This is your heart rate from Tuesday night," I said, sliding it across the table. 170 BPM. You felt alive, all right. I slid a second piece of paper. "And this is your heart rate from the car ride, when you were recording that video." I pointed to the line. 100 BPM. Steady. You weren't scared, Lisa. You weren't panicked. You were excited. You were enjoying the power. You liked hurting me. She looked at the graph. She couldn't deny the data. "The math doesn't lie. You're a monster," she hissed. "No." I stood up, buttoning my jacket. "I'm just a guy who bought you a watch." I turned to the agents. "I'm done here. You have everything you need from her cloud backups. Every text, every location, every purchase." "Alex," she screamed as I walked to the door. "Alex, don't leave me here. I can't survive in prison. They'll kill me." I paused at the door. I looked back at her one last time. "You'll have plenty of time to work on your cardio," I said. The heavy steel door slammed shut, cutting off her screams. Epilogue. 6 months later, I sat on the deck of my new house. It was a small cabin overlooking a lake in Montana. Quiet, isolated, no neighbors for miles. The settlement from the bank, after I proved the fraudulent transfers, plus the sale of the suburban house, gave me enough to start over. I checked my phone. News alert. Jackson Miller sentenced to life without parole under 3 strikes law. News alert. Lisa Reynolds sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for cyber crimes and conspiracy. 15 years. She would be 50 when she got out. Her youth, her beauty, her future, all gone. Burnt on the altar of a cheap thrill. I took a sip of my coffee. The air was crisp. I looked at my wrist. I wasn't wearing a smartwatch anymore. I wore a simple, mechanical field watch. No GPS, no heart rate monitor, no notifications. I had met a woman in town last week. Her name was Sarah, no relation to my sister. She was a librarian. She was nice. She had asked if I wanted to get dinner. I told her maybe. I walked to the edge of the dock. I reached in my pocket and pulled out the rose gold Apple Watch. The screen was shattered, but it still worked. It still held the ghost of my marriage inside its chips. I looked at it for a long moment. Then I threw it as hard as I could. It arched through the air, glinting in the sunlight, before splashing into the dark, cold water of the lake. It sank to the bottom, to the mud and the silt. I watched the ripples fade until the water was glass again. "Disconnect," I whispered. I turned around and walked back into my cabin, leaving the door.
Thank you for staying with me until the end. How would you have acted in the protagonist's place? Write your thoughts in the comments. More fresh and controversial stories every day on my profile. Like and subscribe to this channel.